Imagine it's 1861. Abraham Lincoln is standing on the inaugural platform. The weight of a fracturing nation is on his shoulders. The band begins to play the song that represents the soul and the authority of the American Republic. But they aren't playing the Star-Spangled Banner. In fact, if you have walked the streets of Philadelphia or Washington, D.C., for the first 100 years of our history, the national anthem you would have heard was a completely different melody. One born not from a naval bombardment, but from a desperate need to keep a divided people from tearing each other apart. Before there were rockets' red glare, there was Hail Columbia. Composed during a time of intense political tribalism, this song was a deliberate tool used to find common ground when the center of the young United States was starting to buckle. Today, we are stepping into the history of America's first national anthem. Let's look at the history of Hail Columbia. Welcome back to The Blind Spot. I'm Lydia. As we just noted, Hail Columbia held the position of our national identity long before our current anthem was even officially designated. To understand its significance, we must first examine the volatile atmosphere of the 1790s. The United States was in its infancy, and its leadership was characterized by significant philosophical disagreements regarding the future of the Republic. On one side were the Federalists, who favored a robust central government and stronger ties with Great Britain. On the other were the Democratic Republicans, who prioritized local governance and felt a strong affinity for the revolutionary movements occurring in France. By 1798, these disagreements had escalated into a period known as the Quasi-War with France. In Philadelphia, the nation's capital at the time, social tension was high. Demonstrations and public disputes between different factions were common. Sounds familiar. The shared sense of purpose that had characterized the Revolutionary period was being tested by these new competing interests. It was in this environment of domestic and international pressure that a young lawyer named Joseph Hopkinson was approached with a request. The goal was to find a way to appeal to the shared identity of the citizenry, transcending the immediate political disputes of the day. The music of Hail Columbia actually predates the words. It began as the President's March, composed by Philip File for George Washington's 1789 inauguration. It was a respected instrumental piece, widely recognized across various social and political circles. In April 1798, a theater performer named Gilbert Fox was preparing for a concert in Philadelphia. Fearing that the political climate would keep audiences away, he asked Hopkinson to write lyrics to File's march, lyrics that would be acceptable to all listeners, regardless of their leanings. Hopkinson succeeded by focusing on the common heritage of the people. Let's look at the opening verse, which sets the tone for the entire piece. Hail Columbia, happy land, hail ye heroes, heaven-born band, who fought and bled in freedom's cause, who fought and bled in freedom's cause. And when the storm of war was gone, enjoyed the peace your valor won. Let independence be our boast, ever mindful what it cost, ever grateful for the prize, let its altar reach the skies. The refrain, which the audience would join in on, was a direct plea for unity. Firm, united, let us be, rallying around our liberty. As a band of brothers joined, peace and safety we shall find. Hopkinson intentionally avoided mentioning specific foreign powers or internal political figures. Instead, he highlighted the collective effort of the revolutionary generation and the value of the liberties they had secured. Throughout the 19th century, Hail Columbia was the preferred selection for formal and military occasions. It was played at Abraham Lincoln's inauguration and was the standard piece for the Navy when greeting foreign officials. However, during the Spanish-American War and the early 20th century, the energy of the Star-Spangled Banner began to gain wider public popularity. In 1931, Congress officially designated the Star-Spangled Banner as the national anthem. While Hail Columbia was no longer the primary anthem, it was not discarded. Since the mid-20th century, it has served as the official march for the Vice President of the United States. The second verse of the song continues the theme of vigilance. Immortal patriots, rise once more. Defend your rights, defend your shore. Let no rude foe with impious hand, no rude foe with impious hand invade the shrine where sacred lies of toil and blood the well-earned prize. While offering peace, sincere and just, in heaven we place a manly trust, that truth and justice will prevail, and every scheme of bondage fail. Looking back at these lyrics, we see a reflection of the late 18th century worldview. The text emphasizes the concept of a shared legacy and the importance of maintaining institutional stability. The reference to a band of brothers was a direct attempt to cool the political tempers in Philadelphia. The final verse brings the focus to the leadership of the nation, specifically George Washington, who had recently retired but remained a symbol of stability. Behold the chief who now commands, once more to serve his country stands. The rock on which the storm will beat, the rock on which the storm will beat, but armed in virtue, firm and true, his hopes are fixed on heaven and you. When hope was sinking in dismay, and glooms obscured Columbia's day, his steady mind, from changes free, resolved on death or liberty. This historical perspective suggests that a society's stability is often linked to its ability to maintain a common narrative. In the 1790s, when that narrative was under threat, Hail Columbia provided a lyrical framework for a shared identity. It posited that while disagreements over policy are inevitable, the underlying structure of the Republic and its history should remain a point of consensus. Hail Columbia is more than just a historical artifact. It is a testament to the idea that national cohesion is a deliberate construction. In the late 18th century, it was understood that liberty was a fragile gift that required a virtuous and united people to sustain. The blind spot in our modern era is the belief that we can have peace and safety while abandoning the virtue and truth mentioned in these verses. The authors of this era understood that a house divided cannot stand, and that true stability is found when a people rally around principles that are higher than their own immediate interests. To find our focus today, we must recognize that social cohesion requires a foundation that transcends the individual. Hail Columbia was a call to look back at our shared inheritance and forward to a shared responsibility. Thank you for joining me today to look at the history of our first national anthem. I learned a lot researching this. Remember, the history we remember shapes the future we build. Please support this content by engaging, subscribe, follow, and share. To offer more direct support and access our unblurred content and book club, please visit patreon.com/theblindspotpodcast to view the details and choose your focus level. Thank you again for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in my next video on the topic of name calling. Have a great day and keep searching to find your focus.